BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college hoops, NHL, UFC. Head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here. Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Popper with a couple of two-time Super Bowl champions. Carl Banks, as always, and we're joined by two-time Super Bowl champion Phil Simms here on the guest line as the Giants get set to take on the Atlanta Falcons. And Carl, the three of us were together in the TV booth in the preseason with all this optimism. It feels like it might have been 4 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, look, everybody starts undefeated. Everyone looks great in training camp. And then the lights come on and injuries happen and guys aren't performing to the level that we anticipated them. And here we are. And it just, it's hard to win in the league without a quarterback. And when you have a quarterback, it's still hard to win on a weekly basis unless he's really locked in.
Carl, the Giants, believe it or not, over the last 2 weeks have done a decent job stopping Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry. They haven't let those guys wreck the game. They haven't won any of them. But now they got to deal with Bijan Robinson, who's a second year back out of Texas. And as you were breaking down some of the film, he could be just as dangerous as anybody they've faced.
Well, they block it really well for him. And when he takes the football in his hand, he's running downhill. And, again, you've got backup defensive linemen in there, and their assignment and gap responsibilities are at a premium Sunday because when Robinson gets the ball, you can't bring a defensive back up and one-on-one tackle him. These guys are bouncing off of him once he gets ahead of steam, and the Giants are losing defensive backs every week too. So you want to get him before he gets going.
You got one of those cool starter Super Bowl shirts on. Is that like vintage? Is that 86, 90?
No, this is from last year, I believe.
Oh, last year. Okay.
2 years ago. Let me see.
Well,
there we go.
Good. Yeah, there you go. I like it. Well, a guy who you won 2 Super Bowls with, Super Bowl 21 MVP, Phil Simms, joins us here on the show. And Phil, Michael Penix, the Giants are going to have to deal with this guy this week. Well, first of all, were you surprised that Atlanta made the move at 7-7 and still with a chance to win their division?
I would say so. At first, I was surprised, and then I went back and looked at a couple games. I try to follow Atlanta. I can't, of course, follow everybody super close. I heard you guys talking. Robinson, the running back, oh my gosh, is so fast. It's this will be interesting for the Giants. But Kirk Cousins, the stats matched his play, and maybe it could have been worse. So I'm sure during practice, during his last 5 games where he's not played well, has alarmed everybody down in Atlanta. When I watched a few games I have this year, I saw him against Tampa Bay twice. I was like, oh my gosh. He's born again. He's unbelievable. But it is the exact opposite now. Trouble throwing the ball, unsure, bad decisions, no power on the throws when he does make them. He's all over the place throwing the ball. And Bob, you do a lot of golf. And Carl, I would say it this way. He's got 3 golf swings going on right now.
Oh, wow.
3 golf swings. I mean, he's got, and it's the technique. I hate to always say this about quarterbacks, but I haven't seen him make these kind of throws in his career. So he's in that kind of place. I'm sure there's reasons that we don't know about, but I think Atlanta just said, we have no choice. We have to make this change.
So is it one of these deals where obviously when quarterbacks get older, the body maintenance, but I often hear the arm is dead. Like, is that something that happens progressively throughout a career, or is this just one of these deals this year? His arm is just losing power as the season goes on.
That I think that's the biggest reason, Carl, is yes, age is one thing. The Achilles injury, I'm sure, is still part of the problem. Everything, they had to protect him all during preseason, offseason. And yeah, he's lost. That's the first thing I noticed is the power. And, of course, arm strength is overrated. Yeah, okay. All right, let's have an argument about that. We'll see who wins that. But, you can see it. And two, I understand it too, because I've been there, that physically he's not where he wants to be. That gets in your head and that changes your decision making. When that happens, now all of a sudden, well, I'm not throwing it physically as well as I should, and I'm not thinking clearly, and I can't make the right decisions because you're everywhere. And that's what I see. And of course, what makes it worse, they go to practice every day, and they got this lefty from Washington who's got one of the best arms right now, probably in the NFL. And they see him throwing the ball, and it just brings more intrigue. And so, not that they're getting rid of Kirk Cousins or benching him too quick, but when you see Michael Penix, I'm sure every day at practice, he wows the coaches and he wows the players too.
So what are the Giants are going to give us a little scouting report on what you expect Penix is going to bring to the table and how can he threaten the Giants in this game?
Well, if you're a cornerback and you're running down the field and you're 40 yards from the line of scrimmage and you go, well, I've got to be safe right here. No, you're not. And, he's just got that arm, and a lot of quarterbacks don't like to throw the ball to the sidelines a lot because they're difficult throws. And if you miss them sometimes by a little bit, it can be interceptions for touchdowns. He's not that way. And I thought it was real. I mean, when I watched him in college, which I watched him a lot, he made spectacular throws in all types of weather. Doesn't have to worry about that down there in the dome in Atlanta. But yeah, you got to be on your toes. Tight coverage, he'll still rip it in there. Not afraid, pretty aggressive decision maker. What I saw in college, I'm sure it'll kind of be the same thing. And what little we saw of him in preseason, which was always something that alerted me. The third preseason game, they go, no, we're good with Michael Penix. He's not going to play. Why would you do that to a rookie drafted in the first round? You want to give him some experience because you're not going to see much in the preseason game, and they didn't want to show it because I'm sure for many reasons. The fans are going, wow, that's really different. And so they're doing this now. I don't think you got to think about this. They got a chance to go to the playoffs. Sure, we know that, but they're not going to have a great impact. If they do get there, you want to make it. But more importantly, I think it's just doing the right thing for the football team. That's why you play Michael Penix.
Okay, so let's talk about game plan, right? He's been with the team all year. I'm sure he's gotten some first team reps, but there's two players that stick out for me, and it's one based on he's had success with. He's the most successful receiver they have right now, even with Cousins. And two, a guy who plays a position that all of a sudden the Giants can't stop again, and that's Kyle Pitts at tight end, which he could be reborn with this situation. And Drake London, who always seems to get open. And he doesn't look like he's a polished route runner, but he's always open.
Well, he's not a polished route runner, so you're right there, and it speeds a little bit. Kyle Pitts, that's interesting. I would say this, Carl, and you guys, of course, doing the Giants and see all these teams play, and Bob, is that they'll have, I would think, a few plays where they're going to try to make it easy for him as much as you can in an NFL game. But, 2 receiver routes, 3 receiver routes to give him extra time to make sure he's not have to make, move and do all this stuff to complete passes to get the football down the field for easy decisions and let him show his arm off. And I would really be surprised if they don't have about anywhere from 3 to 5 of those type of plays where it's just going to be easy. He's going to be confident because he knows he's going to get protection. And then, as I would say to the DBs, look out, here it comes. And you're going to see it. He spins it. Hey, man, he's just a beautiful thrower of the ball. Long arms. He's a big guy when you see him in person, bigger than you think. Long arms, huge hands. I mean, his hands were, everybody always said they're 11. And, I don't care how you do it or whatever, that I've never heard anybody having 11-inch hands the way the NFL measures them. So he can really manhandle the football. And these receivers, I promise you, they're excited at the fact that he's going to be in that game knowing if they just get a window down the field, he's going to try to hit it.
So, Frill, let me go. Let's go 3-man route. Is it running back, because he's a good receiver? So you put a running back somewhere on an angle route, you got a tight end, and then you got a deep route. Is that his read progression? Is that what you would give him, or is it something?
Usually when the 3-man routes, it's always 2 wide receivers to me. Most of the time as I watch games across the league, it's two wide receivers, maybe the tight end, but it can be the running back also. You know, I'm not a big guy in having the tight end or the running back. Let's double team the defensive end with our tight end and running back. That is, I call that pass protection asinine. I don't know what else to say about it, because it just doesn't work. And we lost Brock Purdy in a championship game because of that protection against the leading sacker in the NFL, and Hassan Reddick, another story. But I see it every week. People, West Coast guys, still believe in this pass protection. So I hate it. So I would hope they don't do that. And it could be 2 wide receivers and the tight end. And Kyle Pitts, man, I've been sitting here. I don't know how you guys feel and how close you watch Atlanta, but I just keep going, when's he going to become a star?
Yeah.
I think the time is up. We've given him plenty of time. It hasn't happened, but maybe this will wake him up and help him more with a new quarterback.
Well, here's the crazy thing. The Giants this year have only produced 6 pass plays of over 30 yards. Slayton's got 4 of them. Neighbors has 1. And Theo Johnson has the other. And their longest is 43 yards. Kyle Pitts has 5 himself of over 30 yards this year. So when they do get him involved, like, he can influence a game. It's just they don't seem to get him involved. The other thing, Phil, is you look at their offensive line. They've only allowed 29 sacks this year. Right. And every single guy on their offensive line was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. They got 2 first-rounders. Yep. They got a 2nd-rounder and a 4th-rounder who's the center, Dahlman. So my guess is they're not leaning on that West Coast style protection, because they've got some Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, all homegrown.
Yeah, they do. I've always kind of looked at that. There's a few teams in the league where they have drafted their offensive lines, and they're all in there. You just go, wow. Of course, I'm comparing everything to the Giants and Jets up here, and I don't see that with our teams or these teams in the local area. But Atlanta, that part they've really hit. The left tackle's been there forever, and they probably won't have to lean on it. Bob, who knows? But I don't know. The offensive coordinator's got West Coast in him. Sooner or later, he's probably going to do it. And I got to tell you, I'll be tuned into this game closely. I watch all the Giant games, and of course, I try to watch the Jets too to talk about them. But I'll be tuned in, and I hope the Giants win, but I want to watch the quarterback big time too.
So, Carl, I just want to ask, follow up here. This is for Carl. Carl, were you licking your chops? Were you and Lawrence licking your chops when you saw the protection with the back and the tight end?
All the time. We had blitz drills. I feel like our running backs hate it, because we used to do these one-on-one drills with the backs. It was so unfair, but for whatever reason, they thought that these backs, we're just running through guys in practice, and they hated it. And Bill, I don't know why it was, what did we get, like every other day in camp, these backs had to do it. And thankfully, we had a tougher era of football players, because if we had to do it this year, these kids they'd be out. Like, they'd be out for the year just from practice. But yeah, when we got those drills, it was no skill required, just go run through the back.
Oh man, yeah, it's different. And just think, running backs back then were expected to really be able to block you one-on-one. My God, we're not going to play you until you can do this. Between that and the tight ends. The tight ends in today's game, come on.
Yeah.
They're wide receivers who just got too big.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to block.
But I'll tell you a funny story. The 2 best blockers one-on-one versus a blitzing linebacker, and this is going to shock you, Phil. Ernest Biner from Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, he could go stick it in there and grab your jersey, and he wouldn't let you go. And Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen hit me under the chin one time. I was like, holy crap. But both of those guys, you look at them on film, they were always good blockers against blitzing linebackers.
Marcus Allen was so much, the persona, you wouldn't think that.
Mm-hmm.
He was a tremendous football player. And not only that, he knew the offense inside and out.
Yeah.
No, he would tell the Joe, change the play, check it. I had a couple of those a couple of times. Dave Meggett was really smart.
Yeah.
And one time we're standing there and it's a blitz and I'm like choking. What was the call? I can't think. And he calls, yeah, Phil, call black 10. And I go, oh, that's right, black 10. And that was a Monday night game against the Cowboys where I think George Adams caught a little dump over the middle and ran like 60 yards for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I think, Davis. Nothing like having smart running backs and tough ones. That's for sure.
Yes, that's for sure. Phil, so you're looking, if you're in that offensive room for the Falcons and you're looking at just the Giants personnel, right? We don't know who's going to be their starting safety or cornerback right now. Last week, they had a guy off the street playing corner. I believe he got hurt. Is Stroman going to be playing, Phil?
He's dinged up.
Right. So you
so
got
we don't
Stroman
know. We don't know if Banks is playing. We don't know if Flott's playing. We have no idea who's playing. We'll find out on Sunday.
The linebacker position, you got one guy who's healthy and he's dealing with the back himself. And, it's patchwork defensive front, but they seem to have coordinated that to where they got the run stop. So obviously their job gets harder and harder each week. But then if you're looking at this Giant defensive backfield, how do you attack it? Like you still have to be disciplined with your young quarterback so that he can, what are the confidence plays early on in the game? You said it's some 3-man routes, but is it getting Bijan Robinson open because he is a great receiving back? What does that look like? Getting him some layups, I guess, is what you say.
Oh, yeah. It's the easiest thing to do in the NFL right now. I mean, everybody throw a few screens behind the line of scrimmage, put them in motion, have the blockers in front, throw it out there, 8-yard gain. I'm 1 for 1. I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, getting quarterbacks off to a good start, it's a real thing. And of course, it's going to be a real thing with Michael Penix because it's got to be some nerves. But oh my gosh, Carl, I will be surprised if the fans down there are not just all in, excited like it's a playoff game almost. Because I've been bombarded over the last 6 weeks from Atlanta people wanting to go, come on the radio, talk about the team, the quarterback. And I'm like, I think I'll stay out of that mess. I've done a pretty good job there. But Atlanta throws the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best thing they do as a football team. And Bob already talked about the offensive line. They've drafted them all. They feel good about them. And so I expect Michael Penix overall to have opportunities to make some big plays. And they're going to draw up. They might not even think about, 3-man routes. They might just have enough confidence in their offensive line that they can handle the rush of the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. I would say, no, I would like to see some 3-man routes because, whatever you want to say, the Giants edge rushers do have the speed and can get there and make life tough. But yeah, I would think you're going to see, keep count of the number of shots down the field. What's a shot? Let's say it's 20 yards. I would say at least somewhere between 7 and 10, 20 yards in the air down from the line of scrimmage.
That's a lot in today's NFL, right? Like 7 to 10 shots.
Explosive. Yeah, they're going to try. I'm not going to say maybe. No, I feel pretty good about all that. Look, it's like you having it's like Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Once in a while you got to turn around and hand it to him no matter what. And so that's going to be, I think, kind of the same thing. They're going to protect, give him easy passes, give the ball to Bijan. But as the game goes along, I just would be pretty surprised if Atlanta doesn't try to take care or take advantage of the Giants secondary, the fact that they can pass protect pretty well, and he's got a good group of skill guys around him.
All right, so I'll go ahead, Phil. Go ahead, Carl.
So if I put my defensive or my offensive hat on for the Giants, the Falcons defense they're kind of a no-name group. They're effective, but they give up some plays. Right. The one thing the Giants have done, even with these backup quarterbacks the last few weeks, time of possession.
Hmm.
They've been able to keep some teams off the field and they don't get points, but they can hold the football 5-6 minutes.
Dean Smith, four corners offense.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Dable has found a way. Obviously, he can run the football, but he's had backup linemen in there. But you look up, they're moving the ball down the field, and time of possession on that last series was 6 minutes. And I'm like, wow, if they can get points out of this, they could be a pretty good football team. So I think that might be the key to limiting what the Atlanta offense can get done.
Yeah, I think you're right, Carl. As I watch the games and, I sit here on Sundays, which I love, and get to watch it on TV and then, flip around and see other stuff. But yeah, I think the Giants have had some, and I've even probably talked about this with people who watch it with me. Man, they always seem to have a decent drive going, but then, whatever. It's not really even turnovers. It's a penalty. It's not only their penalties, they're really, I hate to say it, they're just dumb penalties. And you just go, well, it changes the whole complex of the game many times, especially like I'd say over the last maybe 3 weeks or so. I've kind of seen what you're talking about. And, it's the mark of a team that's struggling. We got something going here, but we're going to mess it up. And kind of what I see when I watch the Giants. And it's a lot. It's hard to believe. Oh, we kick a field goal, we make it. Oh, we had a personal foul. Oh, we got a chip shot. Oh, we miss it. I mean, it just goes on and on. Just watching the game, you don't even get mad. You just go, you just can't make this up. That it falls apart like this.
That's kind of what we said basically when the field goal was blocked against New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
You can't make this up. Hence the little chuckle.
Well, let's take one. Let's get a kick and return it for a touchdown, and call it back. Of course, hey, when you're losing, that just seems to be part of the landscape every week. That you're just going to do something that really hurts the football team.
All right, so Phil, I want to go to October 7th, 1979. You make your first start.
Oh, it was great.
Giants Stadium. You beat Tampa 17-14. You were a robust 6 of 12 for 37 yards.
That's right.
No interceptions, though. What was going through your brain as you played getting that first snap, that first huddle, that maybe Michael Penix might experience a little bit on Sunday?
Yeah, he could. Of course, I think every game, most players, or there's always nerves involved early, the start of the game, and especially for quarterbacks. I mean, you're going to have a little nerves even as a veteran. Like, you want to get involved. Let's get into the game. You heard many quarterbacks that just say, let me run the ball early so I can get hit and I'm ready to go. I never said that or told him that. But yeah, it's there could be nerves, and that's why you give them easy throws and plays. They've scripted. They know they're probably going to work. There's a high percentage, probably an 80% or higher percentage of completing the pass, because that's how simple I think they make it early. And just once he gets going, you'll know it when you watch the game that he's in the rhythm with the game. He's ready to do it. This could go many ways, Bob. He could play really, really well. He could really show off throwing the football, or it can backfire big time too. And I know the Giants are not playing great, but if they somehow found a way to really get into Michael Penix's head and just kind of dominate one area of the game, that would be huge for him. But let me say this about Michael Penix, the other thing. What he doesn't do well. He has so much belief in his arm that he will stand flat-footed and not really move and just wait. He'll wait till the last second to throw the ball. And he can really, it doesn't matter if he stands flat-footed or whatever, he can make every throw on the field in that position. But in college, I always thought it was something that was going to hurt him in the draft, that I'm not looking for a runner. He can run, but he won't do it because he's got that magic arm. I mean, the arm is real. And so it could backfire on him a little bit in that respect, that he doesn't move around. He's not going to see a gap and take off and run for 8 yards and slide before everybody gets there. That's not who he is. If he does do that, I would be surprised and say they've taught him well down in Atlanta this year to be a little more versatile when it comes to the passing game and move sometimes to make the throw. But at Washington and his whole career, even when I saw him at Indiana as a freshman, he was just like he is now. Man, he had that arm and he was just going to put everything on the throwing of the football. So that'll be interesting. So the Giants are going to kind of know that. They're not going to sit in their meetings and go, we got to make sure we keep him in the pocket. I doubt if that's even part of the talk when you study Michael Penix and you see how he plays.
And he's going to realize those windows are a lot smaller in the NFL, even against a 2-12 team, because it's the NFL,
right,
than it is against college, where you're playing against some guys that will never even be invited to an NFL camp.
Yeah, well, he found out he got a great pro experience when he played that championship game against Michigan's defense.
Yeah.
That was different.
So, Phil, you and I talked in the preseason about what young quarterbacks struggle with most, man or zone. And I talked to Rod Woodson, the Hall of Fame defensive back. And I said, Rod, Phil and I were talking, and, from his quarterback perspective, he said for young quarterbacks, it's harder for them to read zone as young kids coming out of college now than it is man. He said, you're absolutely right. He said, because it's so many people littered, just what you were telling us during the preseason, so many defenders littered all over the place. So the windows, as Bob said, are smaller, but he doesn't know if it's a window or not because it's kind of a zone. And if you play zone with man principles, those windows close even faster. So I would suspect that would be something that Shane Bowen puts some zone and a little matchup zone so that the window's there and then it's not.
Yeah, Carl, it's a great point. And it's a point that I would spit out of my mouth early. In other words, don't play a lot of man-to-man and give him the out. So when it's man-to-man, like he just, is before when the ball is snapped or even before the snap, then you can just pick out a guy and stay with him and make the throw accordingly. It's really an easy way out. The zones, and you're right, he hasn't seen teaching like this in live action. In other words, the guy's running across the field. Oh, it looks like he's wide open. Well, the backside guy's reading him coming across. I mean, it's even last night watching the Chargers play against Denver. You can see how everybody's passing things off. Like, I got him, you take him. And it's really unbelievable. And once and I learned this from Bill Cowher. Of course, you should listen to you too. He goes, teaching man coverage, that's easy. Teaching these zones is extremely complicated. And that's why great zone teams start out the year maybe a little slow. And then as they see more action, they get the feel of everything. And so that's a big deal. That'll be really interesting. I'll keep my eye on that too as I'm watching the game. That'll be interesting for him. He's going to look ahead at some of these receivers, think they're wide open. He lets it go. Then it's going to get intercepted. He goes, where'd he come from? And hey, Bob, you're right. It was 6-12. It was a 5-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. But I just got to protect myself here a little. The following week, I threw for 300 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. So there we go.
That's right. You did.
Okay. Thank you.
I got it. Listen, I'm going to pull it up right here.
Yep.
So for the Giants fans, hope that this first debut of Penix will be the same, 36 yards, and he can have the 400-yarder the next week.
Yeah, you guys beat the Niners at Giants Stadium 32-16. Phil threw for 300, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran for a touchdown in that football game. Yeah, and, it was smooth sailing for Phil Simms' career thereafter.
Yeah. Walk in the park. Oh, shoot. I was going to say, in that first start. See, it was different. Cameras, if you watch that game now, it literally would be blurry on a TV for real.
Right.
It's just amazing. But the Tampa Bay defense, with all those guys over there, it was the greatest trash-talking group I ever crossed by far in the NFL. And I mean, they were creative. And it wasn't, hey, Rook. No, it was a lot of curse words. And it was unbelievable.
Wow.
Carl, the linebackers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers then, man, what they say, if Mike would have caught that, they'd have kicked him out of the league. I mean, I'm not exaggerating.
Well, listen, hey, listen, you beat that. Let me put this in perspective for our audience here. You wound up losing to Tampa later in the year, but you
Ooh,
beat them. You beat them the first time.
right.
That's the Tampa team that went to the NFC Championship game after
right.
beating the Eagles in the divisional round. And I think it was in a monsoon. They lost to the Rams
Yes.
9-0. So like that was a really good Tampa team. That was the conference championship game score. And then the Rams went on to lose to the Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Vince Ferragamo Super Bowl. I was there sitting in the stands watching it after my rookie year. And I said, man, the Rams are going to beat the Steelers. And then Terry Bradshaw who'd he hit deep down the field? It wasn't Lynn Swan. What was
Stallworth, maybe?
Yeah, it was Stallworth. They had double coverage and they worked on attack the safety, then break it up, whatever. And of course, Bradshaw threw it like 80 yards and right on the money for the play that turned the game around and won it for him, probably. So,
all right, Carl, I think we're pretty buttoned up here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think
Phil,
this covers it.
Phil, we appreciate you taking a couple minutes to join us here, my man.
Thanks, Phil.
It's great. It's great. Good talking. I'll be listening this week. So hey, this is great to watch this game in many ways. I'm excited to see Atlanta. I'm not going to lie, but I'm also excited to see what the Giants can do to a rookie quarterback making his first start late in the year and then playing against a team that, they have high aspirations to, to go to the playoffs. And, no matter what team you are, when you get in the playoffs, you think you're going to win every game, just like during the regular season. So it'll be a fun watch. And I know you guys will do a great job.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Phil.
Carl, how do we like to end this? First of all, to our audience out there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. But Carl, how do we like to end this thing?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Believe in Giants.